Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to make these mini bees. They're super cute and super simple. So let's get started. So here are the materials that you're going to need. You're going to need some yellow yarn or any colored yarn for the body, some black yarn for the stripes, some white yarn for the wings, a yarn needle, scissors, safety eyes, or you could use black yarn to embroider eyes on if you want, a 6mm hook, and some stuffing. And a stitch marker is optional if you need one. I'm going to start out with my white yarn and my hook, and I will just be doing a slip knot like this. And you're going to want to leave a few inches for the tail. Then you are going to chain 2, and you can do a magic ring, but I prefer just to use this technique because it makes it more secure. So we're going to chain 2, chain 2, and then in this first chain that we did, I'm going to do 7 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to just leave this tail out right here. 4, 5, 6, 6, and 7. I like to pull that tail tight. Make sure you don't pull it too tight because it can break the yarn depending on what yarn you use. And then I'm just going to do a slip stitch into this next stitch. And then chain 1, pull that nice and tight, and then you can cut your yarn. And again, leaving a little bit of a tail. So now you're going to make 2 of those, and that's it for the wings. Okay, I have finished my second wing, and we're just going to take those and set those aside for now. Now I'm going to be grabbing my yellow yarn, but you could also use a different colored yarn. Like in this bee, I use this really pretty rainbow yarn. It's the brand Big Twist if you want to get some of this yarn, and I really like it. So I'm just going to grab my yellow yarn, and we're going to do the same technique where instead of doing a magic ring, we're going to chain 2. So slip knot and then chain 2. Once you have that 2 done, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single crochet into that chain and then pull this tight. Then I'm going to take my stitch marker, and I will be putting that on that last stitch that we did just to hold my place. This is optional. If you don't need it, then you don't have to do it. But I'm just going to keep it on there to help me not lose my place. So next we're going to go into this. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Find that last stitch, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets into that stitch and do this all the way around. So 2 single crochets, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. And then before we do it in the next stitch, we're going to take that stitch marker out and do it in the last 2 stitches. So 1, 2. Then you're going to count to make sure that you have 12. This, if you don't want to count, you don't have to, but I recommend it so you can make sure that all your stitches are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm just going to put it in the last stitch that we did. And then, oh, there we go. It will close. There we go. Okay, so then into the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then in the stitch after that, we're going to do 2 single crochets. And then we repeat that pattern all the way around. So we have do 1 single crochet and then an increase. So 1 single crochet, increase. One single crochet, increase. 1 single crochet, increase. 1 single crochet, increase, and then we're getting to our last one right here. We'll do 1 single crochet, take that stitch marker out, and an increase. Okay. So that is all we're going to be doing for the rows of increasing. So the next row that we're going to do is just going to do single crocheting around. So you should have 18 stitches now after that row that we just did. So then we're just going to single crochet all the way around with the yellow yarn. So put our stitch marker right here. Okay, then we're going to single crochet 18 around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then take this out, and 18. So before we finish that 18th stitch, we're just going to leave it like this with the 2 loops on the hook, and we're going to grab our black yarn, and I'll show you how to attach the black yarn for the next row. So we're going to take our black yarn, and like how you would usually use this yarn to pull it through, we're going to do instead pull the black yarn through. So we're going to pull that through, and I like to tighten this a little bit, and then I'm going to take the end of the black one and just tie it to the yellow string so it stays nice and secure. Okay, then we will have both of our yarns attached, and we're just going to start crocheting with the black yarn. And you don't usually need to use a stitch marker for this, but you can if you want to, because once you get over here, you'll see this is where you started, and that's where you can stop the row. So we're going to single crochet in each stitch around. And sometimes it does get, these 2 yarns will get a little bit tangled up, but you can just like untangle those. So almost done, last few stitches. And then after we've finished this row, instead of fully doing that last stitch, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna tuck this yarn back here and pull through with our yellow yarn. I like to pull out a little tight. And then I'm gonna do like 2 stitches. So we're gonna pause here, and I'm gonna take my safety eyes. I believe these are 12 millimeter, but you can use whatever size you want. And we're gonna put these on. You could also embroider the eyes on if you wanted to. But I'm just gonna be lining those up and making sure that the color changing is in the bottom. So we're gonna put those right there, and then I'm just gonna put the backs on. Okay, now that I've finished putting those on, I'm going to keep single crocheting with my yellow yarn until I hit about the top of the head. So I'm going to crochet until about right here, and this is all going to depend on how many you do. It's going to depend on where you put your eyes, but I just like to eyeball it. And then I'm going to take one of my wings, and you can see that this is a string coming from the outside, and here's the one coming from the middle. We're going to take the middle one, and we're just going to place it right here and kind of hold it back there, and then do a stitch. And I'm just going to pull that tight, and then take my outside string, and then do another stitch right there. Now that just keeps these 2 strings on here so we can tie these and secure the wing. If this technique is a little too advanced, you can just sew them on after or during your project. But I prefer this technique because I found it stays nice and secure. So I'm going to tie that about 3 times. Ooh, okay, there we go. And then my yarn got a little tangled here. And then I'm going to do 1 more single crochet, and then taking this wing right here, and we're going to take the outside string this time and put it right here, and then do a stitch. Pull that tight, and then take our middle string and then put it right there and do a stitch. Then we're going to tie these 2 ends together like this, Just gonna tie it 3 times. And I'm just gonna stuff those ends right here. Okay, so then we have our little wings attached. Then we are just going to finish up this row. So I only have a few stitches left. And then I'm going to, of course, do another color change, so not finishing that last stitch and using the black instead. And sometimes you're gonna have to just shove these little extra yarn pieces into there. And this will be our last row with black. So we're gonna do a single crochet all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And then again, not finishing that last stitch and changing to the yellow. Now, this was our final row of the black, so I'm just going to take the black and I'm going to cut it right there and then tie it to this yellow strand before I continue with the next row. Okay, so now we're going to do the next row, and you can see it's starting to look like a bee now. We're going to do 18 single crochet around with our yellow, so it's just 18 around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and it might be a little bit hard to kind of maneuver around the wings that we put on, but you're just gonna have to try to find the stitches and kind of move the wings around so you can easily crochet. (15, 16, 17, and 18). So we have finished our 18 single crochet around with the yellow, and now we're going to start decreasing. So I'm going to put my stitch marker on. If you choose not to use a stitch marker for the body, that's fine, but I would recommend using one for when you're starting to decrease, because it really does help with it. So put a stitch marker on there. Then I'm going to do 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to decrease. And to decrease, we're going to pick up, we see this little stitch right here. Instead of picking up both of them, we're going to pick up the front loop, and then we're going to pick up the front loop of the next stitch, and then we're going to pull through and finish it off like this. And so we're just going to do that all the way around, so repeating that pattern. So 1 single crochet and a decrease, 1 single crochet and a decrease, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet and a decrease. And sometimes the decreases can be a little bit tricky, but it just takes a little bit of getting used to. 1 single crochet and decrease, or that was decrease, 1 single crochet, and then we have to take out the stitch marker and finish that last decrease. Okay, now before we continue with the next row, this is when I like to grab my stuffing and fill up the plushie. And you're gonna want it to be a little bit, enough to fill the plushie up, but be also a little bit squishy. Okay, so that seems about good. And you can kind of push that down right there, and we will be adding a little bit more at the end of the last row. So our next one, for our next row, we're just going to be decreasing around. So we're going to do 6 of those. So we're going to do 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, and our last one, 6 decreases. after you finish that, you're going to go into the next stitch and do a slip stitch like this, and then a chain 1, pull that nice and tight, and then we can cut off our yarn and pull through. So there will be there'll be a gap, which we will close up in a minute, but I'm just going to stuff a little bit more stuffing right in there. Okay, so now we're going to take our darning needle, and I'm just going to thread the yarn through the needle. So I'm going to show you my favorite way of closing up the back of a plushie. So here's how I do it. So I'm going to take, so you see there's one stitch right here. I'm going to go in the front loop, and I'm going to go through that one, and we go out through the next front loop, and then in through the next one, and out through the next one, then in, and then finally out. And then you're going to pull it nice and tight, and you get this clean back. And then I'm going to find a stitch or like a little loop right there, which I do a knot in. And then we're just going to cut off our yarn by pulling this through, like grabbing our scissors and cutting it off. Okay, and then your bee is finished. I hope you enjoyed making this pattern, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Bye!